All right, we're going to look at some common issues with citrus. This one in particular is a Meyer lemon, but it could very well be a Satsuma or some sort of orange or another type of lemon or something. But if you notice, the leaf on this plant is a simple leaf. So this right here is the one leaf. And then we have an intruder in here. If you'll notice this triple leaflet right here. So this whole thing is the leaf. That's one leaf, and it has 3 leaflets coming off of here. So all of that on here, and these huge, big, brutal thorns. That is what's called trifoliata. And so the trifoliata is the rootstock. And if you notice where it's coming from down here, that's actually below the graft. And so here's the graft union right here. And so below this is the graft, or this is the rootstock. This is the trifoliata. And above this is what they grafted on, which is the Meyer lemon. Now, not all Meyer lemons are grafted onto trifoliata. Some are grown on their own rootstock. But anything that's growing below the graft, this is a true sucker. So you hear that word thrown around with trees all the time, but this is an actual true sucker. It's not growing out of the root system where a lot of suckers are. This one's growing below the graft union. And so when you have these 3 leaflets, that's from the trifoliata, and we need to prune that out of there. So if we leave that there, then it will take over the plant. So it's a great rootstock, but it's not what we want to take over our tree. It will produce edible fruit, and by edible, like, you know, you can eat it. It just tastes like antifreeze. It's really terrible, very, very bitter, strong flavor that's going to last, persist in your mouth for a long time. And so we want to make sure that, you know, if we have these 3 leaflets in here, this is the trifoliata, and we need to make sure to get that out. And so if your whole plant has gone to trifoliata, then it might be time to either remove it or try to graft on something new to it. But see, this whole top of the plant is all trifoliata. So we're going to go ahead and cut that out of there. So we're going to start up high. So I can just start cutting this somewhere. And so all we're trying to do is just get this down into a manageable portion down here. So let's see if we can focus down a little bit lower. So we just take another piece. And then as we start getting down lower, then we're going to have to be very careful with the cuts that we make. So we have a few more pieces to cut down here just to get down to the base before we can make our final cut. And so if you can see where all this is coming out, and it will get you, we just want to make sure that we cut this the right way so that our final cut doesn't try to come back. And I'd really like to get that a little bit closer. As you can see, this bright green color here, this is the very active part of that trifoliata. It's going to keep trying to come back. So I don't want to be too big to where we have a super large wound here, but I also don't want to be small enough to where it leaves some of the buds from that trifoliata on there to try to come back. So I'm going to try to cut this a little bit closer. And it's important that you turn these pruners the right way. If you have them turned the wrong way, then they wind up really tearing up the rest of the plant that's left. So, all right, so I'm happy with that. We're going to leave it, and then as it comes back, then we'll probably have to prune it off again. So just kind of look for that in your citrus. Now, what you'll really notice is that that trifoliata will have these huge thorns on it, but most of your citrus are not going to have thorns. This Meyer lemon does have thorns, so the lemons typically will have smaller thorns here, if you can see those. but there's nowhere near the size from the trifoliata. They have these huge thorns on here, and so you really don't want to have one of those stick through you. So that's it. Pretty simple. Anybody can do that. You just want to make sure that the plant keeps going. If we wanted to do a little structural pruning or something to send this thing down the right path, then we could. Right now, that's all I wanted to do is remove that trifoliata out of here. You can see this one is kind of hanging down with this fruit here. And so it's not going to hurt the plant to go ahead and just let it produce and let that fruit bear this year. Often when they're young, we really like to have, prune off the first few years of fruit so that they can develop better structure. But it's not a problem with the fruit. It's just a matter of like whether we want that to build strong wood or not before it bears fruit. So in this case, we're going to be fine. We're just gonna let it produce. If you look at some of these other leaves, we got a few scale issues. It's pretty common to see some nutrient deficiencies. If you look right here, you're going to see some like little tunneling. This is a leaf miner, and so the leaf miner gets between the layers of the leaf and crawls around in there, eats away at those. They don't really hurt the plant. You could pluck off the whole leaf, but you're going to do more damage by that than you are just by leaving the leaf miner there. Those are really hard to treat because you can't really get any sort of pesticide inside that leaf unless you're systemic. Most things aren't labeled for use in edible fruits that are systemic, but even if you could get in there, then you're going to wind up potentially creating some toxins in the fruit because those fruit are going to have the same systemic ability as the leaf. So we want to be careful of that. Neem oil is one that you could use. You got to be careful not to use that while other things are blooming and bees are around. You have to be careful not to use that in the dead of the day in the summer because it will burn. Even though it's natural, a lot of people get wrapped up in that. It can still cause a lot of problems for other critters and for the plant itself. So just because it's natural doesn't mean that it's necessarily good. So anyway, we're going to leave this thing be, and I do suspect that trifoliata is going to try to come back again. There's nothing we really want to do to paint it or to seal it or anything, but as it tries to come back, we're going to hit it again, and if we're on top of it, then we're going to catch it before it gets big, and hopefully we keep suppressing it enough to where it'll kind of give up down there. All right, that's it.